think it's working. Oh, yep. Sorry, I haven't streamed for a while. Computer's all fucked. I have no idea what I'm doing today outside having a beer and working on random shit. I've been getting into a lot of like music production, video type shit, so probably work on that at some point. Been doing live, nerding out on all these synths, but yeah, I don't know. Usually I try and have some sort of plan, and I've always been doing photo editing. I'm happy to talk photo editing, whatever. I literally can't even open Capture One right now or Lightroom. So I was definitely dogging Capture One, but it might not actually be their fault. It might be a configuration with my internal SSD cards. I don't know. This shit goes so far over my head so quickly, where I don't even know what's going on. My brother's been fucking around with it, but basically it came in like some sort of RAID configuration. I don't want to use it in a RAID, and so we had to do all sorts of kind of wonky stuff, and it seemed to work, but now it doesn't seem to want to work. So, I have no idea how many people are here as usual. It looks like I'm having drop frames. I don't know if anyone's able to confirm that, or if I'm just talking to myself. Yeah, just trying to go through all these settings. I mean, there's so many. I don't know shit for streaming, so if it sucks. And I don't know if the mic's any good. I'm trying these so I can actually hear what I'm doing, because when you have Bluetooth with when you're doing the mic and the audio through, it gets like really low quality. So if I'm working on stuff like any sort of sound design or anything, like I'm just hearing, it sounds like it's someone is playing it through a phone call, which is stupid. So if you're here, feel free to pop in the chat. I don't know. I still suck at streaming, but I just figured make myself available, have a beer, and I'll probably just dive into live. I think I have the chat open, so do whatever. I'm like deep into just sound design. I'm trying to create like a template that I can use for all my files, and basically create all my presets in one external file and then load them in. I don't know. I haven't done the process of porting it over to any sort of, I know you can have like your user library, and I started creating folders and adding them, but I don't know if it adds all the different devices attached to them. But I mean, I am shit with music theory. I trust my ears at this point. I used to play everything out of key and had no idea what I was doing. Kind of learned a little bit and can kind of play in progressions. I always play in D minor whenever I'm messing around with sound production. I don't know why. It's one of the chord progressions I remember. And to kind of test some of the audio, depending on the instrument, sometimes I'll just do like an arpeggiator, because you can't see it, but right here, there's a MPK 25, which has just like an arpeggiator that I can latch. So I don't know how long this is going to be, but so I can just do like a 3-note chord, and if at all this sounds bad, just feel free to say something. But basically, this is one I've been working on for a while. Is this sort of muted old like vintage piano, which almost sounds like it's been recorded through tape. I don't know where. So it's gone, actually. That's odd. So I haven't bought a lot of plugins yet, but the ones I have purchased, well, my boss just convinced me to buy a VST pack. It's great. It's going to be a rabbit hole, but not the one I'll be using right now. Let's see. Why am I drawing a blank? Plugins. So this one by Waves Factory. So we can put this in. So basically what this does is it just emulates like tape. I didn't even notice it did this before. But basically, they have all sorts of like different crazy presets that you can use. And I started getting into one, I don't know if I saved it or not, or where it went. It was applied to this. But you can hear all that like wonky pitch bend. And you can get into like how much happens, like the stability randomness, you can just kind of like turn that down. Doesn't seem like that seems like it's turning it up. I don't know. So this is where I need to spend the time and learn the configurations of this shit. But where is the... So I'll just let this loop a lot of times. I don't know if I can, yeah. This is probably not the most interesting way of doing it. I mean, cycling through these right now isn't probably going to be the most interesting for anyone. I do need to get it, and I don't know why the dry wet is sounding like it's so heavy-handed right now. I mean, I don't know. I'm not even gonna fuck around with that right now. But the shit that I loved getting into is like the filter delay type stuff. So if I turn this off, well, arpeggiator's still on. You can hear like there's a slight delay. It almost sounds like hitting the strings, and there's a little bit of feedback to it. And I don't have a lot in terms of like shit that I wrote to it, but I'm stuck here. Writing's like the worst part, and that's where I'm trying to figure out if there's something I can do with just sound design. But I don't want to sell like packs or anything like that. And I'm all over the map. There's like this. Sure. So getting into like just kind of crazy bass type of sound design, because I'll be very candid about everything I'm doing. Like it's very influenced by probably my favorite musician, Lorne, and it's just like these crazy soundscapes, and it's wild. And like the progressions aren't anything crazy, but just the sound design, attention to detail. He does a lot of like physical recordings through tape and then feeding it back. And so there's just like all this natural character that I'm trying to fake. But that's like, this is one of the plugins that I got convinced to buy, but it's just like this. It's called like Halftime Piano. I think it's called Wolno by Felt Instruments. So I got a whole bunch of their, like, I got their strings pack or whatever, because I think doing a lot of scoring type stuff will be interesting. I guess I kind of show, sorry, I have my like, iPad over here. I don't know if this is going to work. Nope. Okay. So getting into video stuff I've been doing. This has been the other rabbit hole I've been diving down. um, looking at like, because I've taken a lot of videos from places over time, and they've been shot on just probably the worst settings ever. Like, I don't think I shot on anything over like 30 frames per second. None of it's logged. Um, I think it's like whatever the defaults are that came with the camera, and I was just like, oh, cool. I have my camera up on a tripod. Let's see what happens. And I mean, I think I've been to some places that it could be hard to take a bad video like this. Um, but I'm trying to cut together these short little collections of videos that I've taken from time to time. So there's like Iceland, when the last time I went, I tried to make a point to take video, but like in looking back, it's like mostly waterfalls, a couple other things, but there's so many opportunities that were missed. I don't know if Matt's in here this time, who I went to Iceland with, but yeah, there were so many flies last time. We didn't even want to like stay put in one place for very long, so it was not ideal for shooting video. But yeah, I can play back what I have, kind of like the rough idea. So this is leveraging a track from Lorne, but it's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. And I think like the Instagram clip I play or posted, like the one video I've ever posted was using one of his. And I don't want to get in trouble for that shit, and I don't want to pay to license it, so that's kind of why I'm fucking around on the piano. But I think stuff like this, it's like either one or two directions for me, is either like a dark, gritty, evolving electronic style, or like an old, like vintage piano with a ton of like dissonance and shit that's like off key, which would drive my mom nuts because she's a piano teacher. I mean, she likes it, but I think she's the one who had to break it to me a while ago that like I used to do music production back in the day, and she was like, "Yeah, this is all out of key. Like, I don't know what's going on here." And it's because I was just playing fucking notes. I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, it's rough. I've been focusing mostly on color grades. I'll just shut up and play it now. And that's kind of where it stops. There's like one other clip here, but the color grade is dog shit. Like, this in stills, I never could figure out. Everything sucked. Like, I think I got fed up and started trying to do some weird stuff with, oh man, I haven't messed around in here. Just looking at all sorts of grades, like bringing in, like, cause out of the greens come in. So this is basically the unedited clip. Why aren't my clips showing up? I'm losing track of like where things are, what the commands are. Yeah, I mean, I think there's potential to it, but it's just a matter of getting into, like, I don't know, there's certain shots, it's just like the colors are just fighting you the whole way. And I think just because there's so many different, like, kind of being in the shadows down here, it's at least not into the sun. I mean, the sun's coming from the left. It's one of those, it's like you wouldn't think it's that difficult, but it's just really difficult. I don't know. But one thing that I've been very happy with is this sort of film emulation. Yeah, Olaf, I don't know if you're on this one right now, but a lot of like the film grain look that is achieved in this. Oh shit, did I turn on another layer? Nope. Wow, what is going on here? Oh, that's right, it was too dark. Film convert nitrate, so you can choose different stock. You can calibrate it to different camera profiles. Ironically, I actually didn't like the way it calibrated to my camera. And I think part of the problem is I don't know, because I know I didn't shoot log, but these are a fucking mystery to me. Like, so it's not log, I can tell you that. Is it Cine 4, Cine 1, HLG? I don't know. This is the shit, like, and like depending on which one you pick, like you get very different results. And like that looks like HDR style, which can go fuck itself. This is where it's like, this just starts like throwing wrenches in the gears, and I mean, I don't. There's some of the things like with camera calibration, like you don't really need to do it if the baseline image is okay. I'm guessing there's different ways that different parameters are going to be applied to different profiles, but I mean, to me, that's just kind of, I don't know. I don't notice it. I don't really care. It's kind of just where I'm at. It's like a point of diminishing returns. And it's just like, I could spend the time to really understand camera profiles and like kind of what I've done. I have to do a whole other sort of deep dive into like setting up my camera for shooting video going forward. Because coming end of November, I haven't shot since like March or so in Hawaii. So yeah, I've just been like churning on old stuff, and that's why not being able to shoot has been tough, and then not being able to edit. That's what I was trying to get at. Not being able to edit right now, it just sucks. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of an open-ended thing right now, trying to figure out what the culprit is. Again, I think I've lambasted Capture One probably more than I should have. But I think what might be interesting is actually talking about video and color grading video versus stills. I think there's a whole different mindset, to me at least, in terms of like this node sort of structure. To me, it's like amazing. Like I did some very basic color grading in, not even color grading. I would just mess around in After Effects, and the way it processed video and like how much computational power was required, how inefficient it was, like the shit this can do is, and how efficiently it seems to do it is pretty wild. Like I think my desktop setup now is making it even better, but even with just my laptop, like I think when I first got onto it, I was expecting my laptop to like take off just because the fans are going to be humming, and it was just be like it's not cut out for video. I actually cheapened out on the video card on my laptop, and it kept up. Like, yeah, it was a little slow in places. Like some of the stabilizing took a while, but it really wasn't that bad, which was extremely surprising. But yeah, I guess I'll dive into this. See if I can figure this shit out now, or I'll just look like an asshole and fuck it up again. Just highly possible. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this off. go ahead and... I always want to do the film convert so early, but it has no place here right now. So if you don't know Davinci Resolve, I highly recommend it. If you're doing any sort of video, I think you could do stills and get phenomenal results. I think the way it's set up, and all the different parameters that you can control are just like phenomenal. I mean, it is, I think in the hierarchy of control, I think it's Lightroom, and these are not, this is like a shitty comparison, but like in terms of ability to control, it's Lightroom, Capture One, and then Davinci. Like some of these curve controls are just, I almost want to edit stills in this just because of the control you can get. And I've been having weird thoughts about whether the control is a good thing. I've been going back to Lightroom edits. And I'm not going to lie, I think I like some of the Lightroom edits better than what I'm doing in Capture One. Maybe I'm not ready for Capture One yet, I don't know. I think like the kind of color harmonies that exist, or like that Lightroom keeps you within, are... I have thunder and lightning going on, by the way. I always have it on just because it's like 72 and sunny in LA always, and I come to love rain. So that, and I thought it would be a way to kind of keep background music from getting flagged by the algorithms by interrupting it. Haven't really tried it. I'm actually going to go no audio for now to see what happens. I totally forgot what I was talking about, but oh yeah, like so Lightroom's, I think every time you mess with the colors, it kind of pulls tangential colors with it. And this is just all speculation based off of what I'm seeing. I think with Capture One, it takes the training wheels off in a lot of ways, and I don't know if I have like a deep enough understanding of color theory to get the best results. I think I can get results that work and achieve the look I want, but I think some of the color harmonies starts being like this dissonance in some of the colors. Like there isn't a cohesive, I don't know the best way to describe it. I guess the color palette would be the easiest way to describe it. It's just, yeah. So that's why I was like Capture One dying. I actually opened up Lightroom again and was taking a kind of a poke around at some of the parameters that are, see if they updated anything. And it looks like they did, which is great. I don't know if it's enough to get me back because it also crashed. But some of the grain controls that they added are really nice. Some of the controls around clarity, structure, and I think texture are nice. Rambling, of course, but yeah. So Davinci, and what's nice is it like you see the updates in real time. It's being applied to video. I mean, there's like no sort of loading whatsoever. But I'll go through these. So curves panel, they have all sorts of like X and Y axis control that you just don't have. So hue versus hue. So with like the blues, so let's, this is the only thing I don't like, and I probably just don't know how to do it, like add a point without moving. It's like, I don't, because you can do wholesale color shifts by just like moving this whole thing up and down, but it's like I want to modify the blues. Like the blues themselves are going to start kind of shifting in color. So I want to make my blues more teal. There you go. And again, this is all again going to be played back in video. So I think that's control. So that's one nice thing. Again, this is something that you can achieve with other tools, like what is it, selective color, Lightroom. I I think it's selective color in Capture One, but um, when I use those, I try and keep continuity between specifically Lightroom. Um, like if you're pushing reds in a certain direction, like let's say you're pushing reds to be more orange, then I think subsequently you need to push your yellows to be more, uh, well, no, oranges to be more yellow, yellows to be more green. I don't think that sounds as right, but basically, like if you create these hard shifts and then moments of color contrast, like you're going to start seeing some odd pixelation in places where, like in the grass, there's green. Um, why? Why is there an eyedropper? I don't want an eyedropper. Oh, this is where like I don't like. What am I eyedropping? Ah, for fuck's sakes. But yeah, like I think what this achieves is that kind of continuity between like modifying colors. Like you don't want to just like start pushing one and then just like, because basically you'll make this. There's like these moments of just high color contrast, which you should probably avoid. So maybe this is a better way of keeping you honest. I don't know. I like it personally. I don't like the fact that I can't make a point that doesn't shift. Like I get it with my tablet. My tablet will just draw and drag shit all over the place. But with a mouse, like I am as close to on the line, and it's still like you think there would be a threshold of like within here. If you add a point, it starts at nothing and you can drag it up, but there's not, as far as I can tell. Hue versus saturation. So as like across the spectrum. So if you want to bump up, oh God, again, the turquoise, which I guess there aren't very many, but the blues. So you can leave the greens intact. So you could see some people on Instagram definitely go on this route. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But yeah, so hue to saturation. Oh my God. Hue versus luminance. So do you want to make, again, the sky brighter, darker, and it tries to bend them and leave them intact. And what's nice here is that it does the parity of like across the spectrum. Like it doesn't, because in theory, like if I add a point here and then start fucking around here, like I'm gonna have that moment of high contrast when I probably don't want that. Maybe I want the peak more towards the oranges and the reds, so that's where I start there. But yeah, kind of a nice little addition. Maybe training wheels, you can call them that. Luminance versus saturation, I believe. Yeah, so this is saturation depending on value. So do you want the shadows to have a lot of saturation? Typically I don't. And this is one where you see it doesn't go across because there is no continuity. So for me, a lot of the times, before I apply a grade on top, like I'll kind of go and knock out the colors and the shadows, which is pretty obvious to me in hindsight. I was wondering why I liked red in the shadows, and it's because blue is kind of always found in shadows, and it does the first step to neutralizing it. And I think I intentionally go too far and kind of give it this, I don't know why, but I've always thought red shadows was like an expired film sort of look, but I don't know. That's just me. I have these weird little quirks about where I think like if you add color in certain places, what it means probably doesn't mean anything. What the fuck? And now that's stuck. And saturation versus saturation. I don't know. Where it's more saturated. Oh, so if it's less saturated over here, it's going to bump the saturation to kind of equalize it. Whereas the places that are saturated, yeah, you'd think this would be saturation versus luminance. Maybe not. I don't know, man. All I know is that's adding a ton of saturation across. And why is the histogram only showing from here to here? I'm guessing because there's really not that much saturation in this to start with. So it is really like, in terms of like full saturation, it's only at most like 50%. It's pretty muted, to be entirely honest. But let's see. Oh, and then you get your lift gamma gain offset. I don't think I'm the right person to give advice on how to use these just yet. There's your log wheels that are more like shadow midtone highlights. I tend to use the primary bars to do color correction, or just like basic values. I don't know why. I think I saw someone on a YouTube video do it. But you can see like, I believe lift gamma gains the same as like shadows, midtones, and highlights, but I could be very wrong. And this is where like I just don't know. And I'll just play around with it. Like I do this anyways in parameters on any editing software, so this is pretty new to me. And this is just the value down at the bottom across the midtones. So yeah. And what's nice about this is like you can add these on incrementally. So I think people have different ways of structuring their nodes. So if you never used node logic before, the idea is this is your input, this is your output, and this is everything you're routing in between. And there's a lot of different things you can do in here, most of which I vaguely understand. I mean, there's all these different modes for nodes, like parallel, so you can have, basically it combines two different adjustments. You can layer things on top. I don't really use that because I don't do a lot of local edits. I think when I want to do things like transitions or load things in, I don't know. A lot of it's for like tracking. Like if I want to do, no, not even really for tracking. I'm just going to shut up about it because I don't really know enough about it. I'm learning. What can I say? Otherwise, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen if I do this. Actually, I'm not going to do it. So this monitor has all sorts of color profiles that I bounce between. Like for photo editing, I'll usually use the photography mode. I'm sure there's better things I could do in terms of, like the mode is set for very specific settings. I know next to nothing about color calibration as well. That's partially why I got this monitor, so it can come calibrate it for me, because I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, let's see if I can get this thing in a better place, because goddamn it sucks. A lot of times it's just like not overcomplicating shit. And what's weird is getting used to like this slider. Like it doesn't move 1 to 1. It's kind of on this odd, I don't know what sort of ramp it's on. It's exponential. It moves really slow for a while, so you can do fine adjustments. But then as you keep going, it picks up speed. It's like, hey, Purple Mountains. Maybe if I have a gummy bear or something with a little extra in it, I'm rounding Mars, I might start editing stuff with purple. I think what this kind of shot just fucks with me is because it doesn't really have an identity, to be entirely honest. Like, it's just kind of this androgynous, like, average light, kind of different scenarios where I want like stuff that's in the shadows. Yeah. And so like I don't know what lane to pick. And I think I've bitched about this every single time. It's because I usually save the harder images for here, thinking it'll give me some kind of kick in the ass to actually finish it, but it I don't know if I ever have. I usually end up not finishing shit, but that's the way she goes. Offset, I can't speak to. That's like kind of global. So if you have any sort of like just broad color balance issues, you can fix it with offset and then get into some of the nitty gritty with these. I don't know. I like this shot, but I hate this shot. It's like, do we just blow out the highlights? That doesn't do shit. Like, why? And for some of these, oh, still got audio. I can go through what I did. So similarly to every other editing program I'm aware of, you have your RGB Y. I don't know what Y is, but basically value. So you can break these out in individual channels. It gets a little kind of hairy through here, but I mean, I still do it just because I've been hardwired to think that way in terms of managing color. I like color wheels in Capture One have been interesting to adjust to, but you can get more smoothness than you can from Lightroom, at least in theory, if you choose them correctly, which I guess is true of Lightroom too. I don't know. I'm having this weird, like, I'm like right in the middle of circling back to the idea of Lightroom being beneficial, but I'm not ready to commit to that because that means I wasted a lot of fucking time, which is part of the process. I mean, I'm not not afraid to admit when I'm wrong about this stuff. No, it happens. This would be a pretty big fuck up to port over my whole catalog only to find out it was a step backwards. I don't think it is. I hope not. But yeah, so how I got this, and these are all, I don't think I should be the one going into this. Like basically, you can do different trackers, you can do window masks, qualifiers. So, so you can sample different areas, and it'll track that. And so it's qualifying anything else I'm doing, and you can do a lot. So if you start getting into different effects, but you can see I'm just fucking with that orange color now. I don't know if there's a way to see the mask, but you can then go in and modify, like, okay, maybe I don't want all that. It's like you want to go, what's his name? Like G-Monk infrared style, like pretty easy way to do it through here. Although this is super ham-fisted compared to what he does. But the idea is, I think, pretty similar. Yeah. This is where you can control all sorts of ramps. Motherfucker. Why would that... Oh, you can't see my cursor, can you? Fuck. clicking on the right side. See if that. No, you can't see that. I'm clicking on the right side of this luminance range, and it is modifying the low end. So if I do the low end, it modifies the high end. That is stupid as fuck. What? But I mean, this is where it's powerful if you really want to, because it'll track and adhere to those values through the shot. Like if lighting changes, you pan, and I think you can control how it modifies over time, because you can animate a lot of these attributes, which maybe there's not a way to modify your color grade. There's gotta be. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Above my pay grade. Oh, this color looks weird to me, but what can you do? Again, so another awesome thing about this is the different scopes that analyze all your different color values. So as you'd expect with a darker image, there's going to be more blues and greens and less reds. I did keep the reds through some of the shadows to kind of offset it and keep it kind of neutral. But as you're going through and modifying, like so if I go to the blue channel, if I wanted to kind of color correct this and make it more neutral, you can see if I bring the blues down in the shadows, we're getting more 1-to-1. But you can see it's more unified here than seeing like the blues across the spectrum going higher. I really like it. Vector scope I never really use. Your traditional histogram and this. No fucking idea what this is. And I realize I'm still using the cursor as a pointer. I really don't know what to do about that. I think I had a solution before, but I don't know what it was. But what can you do? So yeah, I've been working on this one, and so this is what I'm trying to put audio to. Just as like a first pass. I have another project I'm going to be working on with Ratio Coffee. I mean, it's not a project with them. It's shooting a video for them. And like, this is a good exercise for me to understand how to color grade, how to edit, basically how to use Davinci Resolve and compose moving images. And then the live experimentation will be, I'm basically trying to be fully independent of like anything. I don't want to have like licensing issues come up. I don't want to have anything to deal with. I don't know what's going on with all these titles. This is another one. I guess I can just keep showing all this shit, because who cares? Although I do want to get rid of text. Where are you? You're here. Why? Get rid of this. Don't even see that. So, started with the idea for promotion for a book. And yeah. Actually, is a lot better when there's text on top of it. It does make quite a bit of a difference. But this is shooting without a tripod and a windstorm, and this is just like pushing the limits of the stabilization, you can definitely see it. I've tried all different techniques, and I think there's better ways of doing it. And you can see, like, I think that focus shift works. It's not intentional. That's just autofocus trying to search. This one I posted to Instagram, but I don't know where all these clips are. But yeah, this is one where color grading kind of stuck a little bit. Started clicking. I think this is one that feels close to stills, which I can't say a lot of. I think some of the other stuff with Iceland, and this one's just totally fucked, like shooting into the sun. And I've tried to fix these like different dirty ass spots on my lens, but this is where, like, if I just took the time to set up with a tripod, like, just here, let's see if I can show. Like, I'm such an idiot, it's unbelievable. So if I turn stabilization off, like, this is what it's trying to fix. And it's like, fucking kidding me. Problem is like, I didn't go in with any planning whatsoever. And I was so distracted with like taking stills and trying to figure out some video to take. But at this point, I didn't think I was ever going to do anything with video. It would just be kind of like, it's cool to capture. It's easier for me to capture video on my camera than it is on my phone. So my camera's out in this windstorm, dust, sandstorm. Let's just roll with it. But yeah. So this is where it's just like playing. Like, it does an okay job, but you can still see it wobbles. You can see it cuts on the edges. The fact that I'm shooting straight into the sun, like, good job. I don't know if I have footage. I guess this is all I have in this one. Let me see. This is the one I think. Don't say. What is going on? Oh, good. Footage is gone. Oh. I don't know where that went. I've been looking at, so I shot some video from Pipe, and I've been holding on to this one. I've been contemplating all sorts of different soundtracks. I timed it to different things. I think what's interesting is learning the process of like compiling things and just getting like the general flow down, and then understanding how to map that to audio and create like a cadence and something that makes sense. I won't show the intro. But this is like, I was thinking about playing Sinatra to it. Because it's like, no one fucking does this. Like, everyone's heard like punk to it. I don't think it quite works. I think the editing needs to be better in order to accommodate a track like this. The black and white is kind of getting there, but I don't know. Because I had that. I really like this song, but again, this is more like a safer bet of, this doesn't feel out of line with like what you see with other surf clips, but it's different enough where I think it brings something to the table versus just, yeah, the usual shit. But this is one where I think I'm gonna take my time and try and compose something for it, design stuff to it, like put the names in. But again, you can see like the stabilization is working so hard on this. And that's just because like I don't have the right setup. I don't have the right settings. Yeah, it's losing video. Sick. Oh, multiple clips are going. What? That's not good. C0157. Where is it? Oh, it's probably media pool. So it's fine here. There are no clips lost except for this one, which can get the fuck out of here. So before I got that film convert grain plugin, I was layering 4K grain video looped on top as a mat, and that was killing my processor. But with this, it just naturally applies grain. Oh yeah, see this was cut to the original song, which I don't know if I still have that or not. Maybe this. A safer bet. So. Yeah. So that one, well, this is the old cut. There's still a version in between where I started getting into the timing of it. But then I couldn't decide between black and white color, and adding all this grain on top was just killing everything, which I think it's all turned off. So we go to color. Oh, shit. Oh, so this is where I was trying to do like different highlights and like film my own little film emulation before I had the plugin. I think I got rid of. Oh, so here's the external mat. Yeah, so that was where the grain was coming in, and that was just causing all sorts of fucking problems. And the look was not nearly as good as what film nitrate does. Thank you, Olaf, again. I don't know if I said that earlier, but he's the one who turned me on to that, and it's not the be all end all, but it is pretty nice. What is this? I'll zoom. Yeah. I don't know why these are all offline. It's probably not ideal. What are these? Sorry, like this is the problem right now, is like I migrated to a different computer and all my files are all over the place. So that's why I'm not terribly surprised that some of this stuff is coming up missing. But yeah, it's tip of the iceberg. File structure in general, I kind of have this like, I'll do it tomorrow mentality, which is catching up with me. Everything's gone. So media. New link. C005. Sorry, I just need to do this real fast. How is it coming up with? I don't know if you can see this dialogue or not. Hey, fixed it. I do have a ton of these videos, which I think are kind of interesting. It's just like a passive background loop. So this is what's on like this live stream coming soon. And I don't even know if I have. This is pre film nitrate. Yeah. So you can see if I add on, you can see the grain characteristics it takes on. There's like a little bit of softening. Usually I will get into kind of nuking clarity a little bit, which again, like I don't know why a lot of these, I mean, I've found ways of doing it in Capture One and Lightroom, but never just like a simple box blur. Like, I don't know if it's just too computationally heavy for them to pull off in a way that makes sense, but I mean, you would think it would be pretty easy. Like if this is doing it in video with no sort of, I mean, this is playing at 60 frames per second almost. That's, if I really decide to go soft with it, it starts chugging a little bit, but it's really not that bad. So again, like these sort of controls, along with like how dynamic the curves panel is like, maybe I should just fucking edit it in this. The problem is it doesn't scale. I don't know what these file sizes are because I don't even know where these files live, to be entirely honest. Like, only way I can really find them is through here. They all live in this projects folder. Unless I can show... Can't fucking show it. If it was database driven, I just don't fucking get it. Like, there's no way to just see it. Like, if I do a search for Iceland videos 2, which is just the stupidest fucking name. You can't see it because it's on Finder, but it only comes up with info.txt. It's just a text file. It says database name, local database, project name, Iceland vids 2. That's it. So I'm sure there's a reason for it. I don't understand it. What? Sorry, I have to see what's going on. What is this? Oh, I know what this is. So I just made a quick template in Davinci or Resolve. I don't know which one it is, but created a mask that basically I just drop in a file and it masks it to the same kind of cropping I have on this square file. Why is that missing? So this is how I got video into the same, what the fuck was that? Into the same aspect ratio. Oh my god. Well, I don't know. So it can't find it, but it's playing fine. I do not understand that. Oh, put it on the long list of shit I just don't get with this software. But I mean, the basic level stuff you can do with it is pretty awesome. I'm curious actually if you can. Okay, I want to try editing a raw photo and see what happens. Sorry, I'm going to be going through Finder, which is not casting right now. Probably good because it's a lot of stuff I don't want to share the name of. Sorry. Not sorry. I'll try and find it quick. What's this? God, some of these photos suck. Trying to find one that's at least interesting. I would open up Capture One right now and find something very quickly, but I don't know how many people are here who's been here, but Capture One won't open. I'm not going to go on another rant about that. Okay, let's see if I can. So if I create a new project, don't save. Photo test. Media pool. Yeah, see, music can't hide any of my like weird, I don't know what you call it, idiosyncrasies or I don't know. John's true. Only my brother would get that if he was here. Which I'm sure he's not. Desktop. Oh my god. You kidding me? Let's just do this. Oh no. That's not where I want to put it. Oh, it can't read raw ARW files. That's my guess. Alright, nobody's working. Well, there's these already edited ones, which I don't. Whatever. No, but this like defeats the whole purpose of this. I'd be curious. So I'm. Fuck. Let's see. Can Davinci Resolve open raw? So apparently you can go Photoshop. So one of the forms is saying convert to ABS, which I've never heard of. Absolute database file format. It's a Delphi database engine created by Component Base. Get it? I don't even know if I have Photoshop on this. Let me see if I can do this real fast. You won't be able to see it because I'm. Just going through a different export windows in Photoshop. I don't think I've ever used export as in Photoshop before. My options are JPEG, GIF, and SVG, which is not gonna cut it. Save as. Whatever. Do a JPEG for now. I don't think it's a fair comparison, but it'd be interesting to see. And it's kind of a boring androgynous image too, but you know. What can you do? This is just a random shot from Iceland. Let's go color. So I don't need to see clips. Okay. Color. So you wanted a serial node. I can get into. So you can link them, which is interesting. I don't know the logic behind linking and modifying all of them. So I mean, that's pulling everything down. So that's modifying all the channels anyways. Let's reset. I don't know why I'd ever do anything else. And one thing that always escapes me too is like they have these big curves panels and they don't put a priority, much of an emphasis on all of these controls down here, which are super powerful and probably what most people are looking for. Like the overall saturation is controlled here. The pivot, the contrast, like all controlled through here, which, and then it's also buried within tabs, which I think the overall temperature and tint is buried within here, which again seems a little strange. But I'm sure they have their reasons. Let's see. Got those highlights kind of doing dumb things. I wonder if with raw, if you could recover more. Again, like, not picture scope. Why is it falling off a cliff there? I don't have any limiting on. And I'm just rambling. I think I can see chat. I don't know how many people are here. Feel free to pop in, do whatever. Questions. And it doesn't have to be around what I'm doing now. Like, that's the whole point of this, is like I'm just available. Although what's interesting with all these live sessions is I just get down in these rabbit holes and I just chase them because I think it's interesting. I'm not nearly as productive as I think I was hoping to be, but I'm never going to turn away the chance to kind of like learn something new, as cheesy as that sounds. But yeah. Actually, I gotta stay hydrated. I will be right back. And I stand. So I've been sitting for too fucking long. I'm a child, I can't help it. Yeah. See, I always wanted, I'm not going to do it. Let's get these colors right. This is where for me it's just a ton of kind of going back and forth. Again, these do work a little bit differently than Capture One, but same concept. It's just like moving the point from the center to each of the ends versus that's the amount, and then you just kind of rotate around in Capture One. But I mean, it's really the same thing, to be honest. Let's see. This is where I don't know how it computes color, like curves, like the low-end curves, like lifting this bottom point. Sometimes it works in applications, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm sure there's ways of sequencing it with different different nodes. So what's nice is like when you hover over this, you can see everything that's being applied to this node. And what you should do is label it. So usually this would be like a color correction or something. So that when you see it, you have an idea of what you actually did. I don't really do that. There's other people, I mean, I think like if you're doing very advanced techniques where you need to break certain things out, I think it makes more sense. But for me, like in some of the footage I'm doing, I don't think it ever made sense to break them out. Like it's all just kind of base level color correction. And you can change, let's see, actually I believe you can. Maybe not. Where's the inspector? Fusion. This is where you can get really crazy. I've done very little with Fusion, but you can do all sorts of different things. I think it's just a different way of processing nodes from what I can understand. You can do different particle effects. And again, this is taking the same sort of like in and out and then routing things through different effects. In theory, it sounds easy, but I think just conceptually wrapping your head around it is kind of a tough thing. And I'm not going to embarrass myself right now. I was thinking you could apply different opacities and different amounts of each different layer. So if you wanted to kind of turn down some of the color grading you did, you could do that, but maybe not. All right, let's get this thing in a decent spot. But I guess it doesn't really matter, like getting this to a perfect spot. I think it's interesting to see. I mean, I've gotten decent results with video, so maybe this is without actually being able to process raw and seeing like file size implications. I don't know if there's really a point in this exercise, to be entirely honest. Yeah, so this is where I start pushing things. Yeah, I don't even know if this is useful. It's just curiosity gets the better of me sometimes. But you can see like how powerful this sort of stuff is. And then you can just turn on before and after. And then if final touch, tossing the film emulation on. And so you can control like the grain response curve. So like shadows, like do you really want to start hammering the grain? Which again, like I don't know anything in stills that gives you this control. Because for me personally, like I don't shoot film, but I like a lot of the characteristics of film. It's just personal preference. And I think supposedly Capture One's application of grain follows the same sort of like semi or like half dome sort of look, where in the blacks and shadows, like it tends to kind of taper the amount that grain's applied. I don't know. I still don't like Capture One's grain at all. I think I like, after going in and seeing the three, I think it went from like 2 to 3 different parameters of, it's like grain size, structure, not structure, amount, and I can't remember the other one. But between the 3 of them, like I think you can get some very nice looking grain compared to Capture One. I think this takes the cake. I think with all the different things it's doing, with grain strength, like film chroma, like, and what's nice here is like, I didn't even get into this, but this is all like different film stock emulation. So right now it's on Kodak. I don't know film for shit. I know I tend to like Fuji more. From what I remember, there's kind of like a greener sort of tint to it, which I think fits my vibe a little bit more. But at the same time, there's some stuff with Kodak that is just like looking tip top. And I think once you get to a point where you use this enough and it's enough of a it like becomes second nature, then I think this sort of drop down actually means something instead of just like, oh, like, let's see, no. Because this is basically like film presets. And then, I mean, you can go in and like control how much is actually being applied, but yeah, there's a lot. Again, then you can go into like 8mm, Super 8, 16mm. So it does all of these different things, which is pretty incredible. Because I mean, just the difference of having it on and off it's pretty wild. Like just being able, like just doing like a baseline grade and adding grain to it for someone who shoots digital, I think the feel you can get out of it is, I don't know. To me, like this right here has more feel than I think I'll be able to get out of Capture One. And I think the color grade's kind of whatever. Like, I'm not, like, this was very rushed. I think there's better things. I think it's too warm in the shadows, which maybe I can fix real fast. Yeah, it's creating weird balances. But see, then I'm fighting the film settings, which doesn't make sense. Sometimes it does, like doing it back and forth. Like, I don't use presets ever. I just don't believe them. And that's where this even starts getting a little, if I start drawing hard lines in the sand, then like some shit starts getting a little blurry. Like, well, what about film grain settings? Those are all presets. I don't think you can do a non-preset. Unless you turn film chroma all the way down, I guess you could sort of get in here. And what's also nice about this, I totally forgot about, is that you can just do your base sort of exposure, temperature, tint, saturation here. You can still do it down here, but my guess is that it was just so buried that people didn't want to be like fucking around over here and then having to dive into these tabs to find like the contrast and exposure and temp, tint. So I think it's nice that they did some of that consolidation. The black point, I like it in theory, but like I don't think they did a good job just because of how I would want to modify it. Like the only way you can bring the black point is up, which to me sounds really, I get it. I mean, I think there's a lot of practical applications of it, but for me, like I mean, yeah, you can go into your value curve and just start pulling it up. But see, this is where you start getting those inverse values here, where you start, and you can see it in your curves. So you don't know. Anytime this curve goes horizontal or below horizontal, you are asking for all sorts of fucking problems. Because then your shadows are lighter than your blacks are lighter than your shadows, so you get this weird, like, almost inverted look. Which sounds like you'd never run into that problem, but I promise you, it fucking happens all the time. Like, I make my way there all the time, just wishing to push like the black point up a little bit. And you can also get rid of this curve, so you start having less of an issue with that sort of instance of inverted. But again, the closer you can get to 45 degrees, this isn't 45 since it's like stretched out. Usually curves panels are like 1 by 1. But closer you can get to that, the better. I mean, I always start with like a slight S curve. That's kind of the standard of adding a little bit of contrast. But yeah, if you don't have to add a point, don't. That's something that took me a while to learn, because I have these. They're not presets. they're presets in the sense that they do a lot of the baseline settings for me. So, which I would advise everyone to do is like think about your process and think about what you do all the time, and setting up presets for what those are. I don't think that applies to color temperature and color grade and split toning and shit like that. You can, like, for me, there was a stretch where I would always bump up the reds and the shadows. I think that's kind of, for some reason or another, been my kind of signature. And that was my foot. Sorry, God. And so I would create all these additional points along the curves panel, and that would save me the time of and setting that preset up took a long time, because let's say, can you duplicate this? Nope, that's not duplicate. I think there's a way. I think if I just create a new one now, fuck you. Copy, paste, yes. So if you reset this curves panel, I don't know why I'm intent on keeping this, but the idea is kind of the issue I was having with some of these other curves of, like, if I want to draw a point, like, it doesn't just add a point, it modifies and adds a point, which to me is like, I'm just like banging on my desk thinking about it, because it's really stupid. It's like, add a point there, you don't have to modify and try and do two things at once. Like, it seems silly. But yeah, so if you get back to the more traditional curves that you see in Lightroom and all these, you can see it's right now, it's all in unison right now. So I will try to add points. So I would usually do shadows, mids, and lows. Why is it? There's no way to turn it off, but you're going to see pretty quickly. So on green, I'm trying to, no, I won't even let you do it. Well, so I haven't really done this in Davinci, but basically you can see that you create these, like, just very subtle oscillations and imbalances in color that, I mean, that's going to be applied everywhere. Or, like, so if you create a preset of that, then you have a base edit to your image that you're starting from, and you're already fighting color imbalances that didn't exist there. So you're almost doing yourself a disservice. And the other part of that is, let's say you have, so these are the points I would usually end up with. And just based on the image, let's say, like, I just wanted to pull down these shadows here, but for some reason or another, I would never modify. I wouldn't think to immediately to modify this point. A lot of times I just let it go, but I'd find like just removing that point and kind of creating a little bit more smoothness between that transition helped a lot. And even if it's not getting rid of it, it's at least like kind of understanding like what you're trying to achieve with every modification of the curves panel, and then kind of walking back from that. Because like you have your base, it's like, okay, I need to pull down like the really, really dark levels. I'd say I want to pull the shadow, like the pure black point up a little bit. Am I creating like instances of high contrast where you'll get banding, you'll get all sorts of shit, especially as you're applying to like any of these individual color channels. Like if you have severe instances of, I'm going crazy with it, and it's not even showing it because that's not where everything is. I mean, this is over exaggeration, but you can see it's actually doing a pretty good job of smoothing that, but you can see like the weird coloration that exists. No, I just want to grab her. Why? I have a hand tool, but I have an eyedropper. Why not? Off. Oh. Oh. Why would I want it? So the hand grab's only for the nodes, which is exceptionally stupid. I guess you probably don't need to always pan around video clips, but yeah. What are you gonna do? But what is interesting, let's turn this off. This grade's at least decent. Is if you play this image as a video, there's that green emulation going on, which I think it's a little ham-fisted because I just mashed some of the parameters to it. Which I don't know where they went on the overlay. Overlay patterns. Oh, params. I had them. I don't know where they went. Well, so if you get an instance where you're creating a video of a scene that is very still, but you want to make it kind of fit in with video, you could probably do a slow pan or slow zoom on it and have the grain going on top and have it look a little more real. I think those are usually pretty obvious when people are doing animating stills, especially next to video. It's just always patently obvious, but yeah. Kind of interesting exercise though. I don't know if anyone else cared for that, but drink that. Well, let's see what else I can get into. I've not been productive. This is kind of, the stream's an enabler. I'm just trying to discover shit, figure things out. So you can edit stills in Davinci if you really feel compelled to. I'd be curious how it scales and wish people well. Yeah, I should do a side-by-side. That's something I might do, is take a look at editing the same image in Capture One, Lightroom, and Davinci, and thinking, oh, across several days. I would do like a week. Oh, yeah. Do like a week apart of, so my eye resets. I don't have any like lingering effects from doing previous edits. Um, could be interesting. I don't know. I don't know what value it has. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out Capture One versus Lightroom, if I'm being entirely honest, but we'll see if that's, I don't know. I might be over-indexing on the fact that Capture One's not working at the moment, and I'm pretty upset about it. But what else can we do right now? I mean, I'm always working on updates to my website. I don't know if that's at all interesting. Been wanting to do a little more sound design. I haven't gotten around to it too much this weekend. I don't know if that's at all what people are here for, but yeah, fuck it. Probably just do this for a little bit. I don't know how long I'll go today. I think I've been going for like an hour and a half. See how it goes. So, what was I trying to make? So this synth, I know I was geeking out on it on my Instagram stories, but oh, I fucked that up. So I'm midway on this, but there's so many crazy things you can do with this. So I was messing around with the idea of dissonance in a lot of my sounds, and as I'm understanding how all these different LFOs work with these different oscillators, like you can just map everything to anything. So I can map the so basically I can map the position of this oscillator in this map. You can do it many different ways. You can map it to the amplitude, so as the amplitude increases, like it kind of goes up. Like so for this collection charcoal, it gets a bit more saw wave-ish, and it gets a little bit more, not really sine wave-ish, but a little more flat. But the idea is also we have the detune, oscillator position, pitch. Well, basically I have the pitch going to LFO1, so that's this one. So as and it's not applied to this one, so this one's holding like a D, but as I hold it longer, and I can change the attack, so I can make this very obvious, or I can kind of like delay the onset of this LFO. The problem is I have this LFO set to a couple other things. Probably reset that, but here it kind of like goes in and out of like harmony with it. It kind of creates this dissonance and then resolves and then goes the other way and kind of. And there's ways of modifying the LFO amount as well by different, like envelope 3, like so over, because I think you hear it and you'll hear it just kind of like loop and it'll sound the same. But what I haven't really gotten into is then mapping, let's say, the amount here to envelope 3, which I guess I did, envelope 3 LFO amount. Man, I guess I already did it. You can hear how it kind of like goes in and out of like this dissonance, and I don't think the sound design is perfect for this. This is like my main objective with this track was just to see like what that dissonance can be. I mean, to me this sounds too predictable. Like if I just am trying to create like a pad and have something that holds, I mean, you're gonna hear it pretty quickly of like this just kind of like very predictable. Because right now it's at like, it achieves a full cycle. Fuck, you can't see my cursor. I keep on talking like you can. Oh fuck! I'm not even showing live at all. Good thing. Well, probably no one here then. If no one said anything. I wonder if I just do a desktop stream. I don't think anyone's here anyways, so I'll just fuck around with some music. Desktop stream. Can you see my cursor? Hey, I think you can. All right. So, this is what I meant to be showing, but was not showing. Yeah. Oscillator 1, Oscillator 2. These are basically representative. So in this instance, it's like more of a saw wave. This is more like kind of a random wave, but you can map the movement along this. So this is what I was talking about when I said it got more to be like a saw wave. It's over here on the right, and then down to more of, not quite a sine wave, but you can see so that this LFO, this wave right here, is modifying the position, which is this. And I can modify the baseline. It doesn't have to be dead center, so it can modify off of a low point. But that's not really. So this is the same pitch. It's just, this is literally the waveform that this oscillator is following on. And I mean, I feel like I should just make a new track. Because there's so much cool shit, and I just don't want to. I mean, this one's already kind of fucked, so I might as well just. I mean, that sounds like dog shit. But you can see, so basically there's all these different waveforms for you to choose from. And some of them follow along like formants, like a lot of like vocoder type sounding. Like it. Also, you can add subs to it. So adds a little depth to it, although I'm not even using it properly, so you can hear it just adds a little dynamic nature to it. And I think that's kind of what all these, like the two oscillators together really does, is just layering on different characteristics. So that's where if you get into, I don't really like using form and stuff, and I still don't know where all this stuff is, but you can see like as you start just like modifying, I don't know how loud this is, and then if you turn up, so this is locked to, it syncs with the internal clock, which is at 115 beats per minute. So it keeps it like, I think it keeps it cleaner. I think there's going to be moments where I'll probably want to go to hertz, where it's just like this very fluid. But this is like, this is pretty ham-fisted approach to doing this, to be entirely honest. I mean, a lot of this stuff I think works better as like a subtle sort of variation of it. Like you don't want to just like, you'll hear it, like you start like messing with this amplitude and going like this amount, oscillation amount, so that's amplitude of the wave. It's going to go the full range. Which is pretty rad in terms of like how dynamic of a sound you can make, but I mean, I would prefer to go much, because if you're playing long pads and like chords, like just a little bit of kind of variance, I think goes a long way. And if a lot of these are resetting every time you push a different note, then it's kind of, depending on like how long the rate is, it might trigger and start sounding repetitive, or it might not. It might just go through this initial progression. Because you can also map this this movement to like the amplitude. So it seems like as the amplitude grows, like some of these waves have a bit more distinct characteristics. And this is where like I spend hours just like looking at this, like how crazy these wave designs are. Like it feels like a 3D space, but then those are just basically keyframes. They're visible keyframes that the wave is hitting. Which to me is crazy. And then you can get into, one thing I'm trying to figure out now, I can't remember the song name, but basically all these green parameters are MIDI notes. So that I'm playing with the keyboard, you can play with your well, my MIDI piano keyboard versus my actual keyboard. Because you can play with my keyboard. It has, so velocity, you can control what the velocity is. So like down here, you can change octaves, and then up and down velocity, so you can hear like, you can simulate velocity even if you can't. With a keyboard, it has no sense of velocity. So, but what I was thinking was, so you can see how this low pass is animating. This is based off of some key or note, excuse me. So as you go up in note, that adjusts the value, the base value of the low pass. So as I go higher up, the problem is I also have it mapped to velocity. So the harder I push this, the further it goes, versus like same note, softer, it almost doesn't move. So you can get some characteristics where like there's one song again that I'm not thinking of. I think it's by Lorne, but it's like as this like kind of gritty guitar sounding synth gets up, like it gets a bit more distorted, and it's like a combination of velocity, and I might not be able to achieve it with this, but it saves me from, because you can always go in to this view and like start dragging out, or just like clicking on each of these and then seeing the modifiable envelope that you can adjust. So each of these, like show automation. So I can control the detune. So this is where I'm going to eventually put the tracks, but this is just the sound design. So I'm not really worrying about that. But once you get into that greasy world, like it's just from the one song I've ever finished, I don't want to go down that road. Like if I can control it when I know almost with certainty that like if I can just play with more velocity, like that's something that as you move MIDI notes around, like it doesn't change at all. It goes with it. Like if you copy and paste envelopes around, sometimes depending on where you put it, you get a bunch of extra points and you have a ton of cleanup work to do. So to me, like doing it at this level seems way more practical, and it's something I can just go and modify as well. And I think, well, what would be nice is if you could automate these parameters, which I doesn't look like you can. So if I don't want the LFO modifying oscillator 1 position, which is this right here, I could over time basically reduce that. Or it's like there's a certain note that really doesn't need it. Like for me right now, there's one, so there's this gritty like bass synth that I'll probably be using a lot of. But there's a version of it where the frequency is shifted. So you can see like it starts down and then like it comes up. And I like right now I have 2 separate tracks and I don't know if this is something I can control. Up to macro 1. Because I've learned all this just by doing YouTube videos and just like fucking around for hours. Which has been really fun, but there's stuff like this that comes up where it's like, I'm sure I could do this much better. But I just don't know how. But I think that's kind of what's fun to learn. But so for this, like you can hear, if I push, so this is like entirely dependent on velocity, which I also need to figure out is like why if I play this soft, it doesn't really do the effect properly. Like it kind of grumbles, but if I push it hard, there's a bit more bite to it. So there's something being mapped to the velocity, which I can't find right now. Because it'd be nice to be able to just map this point to velocity, so the harder I push it, the lower the initial pitch envelope is. But I just pulse width, pitch mod. Oh, maybe I can do it with LFO too. No, but that's... Problem is that's not dependent on velocity. And that's what's so great about wavetable is like, let's see, velocity. Let's see, I don't understand. Zones define the range of value which are able to pass through each chain's device. I wonder if I created it. I could probably create an instrument rack. I wonder if this would work. Slow start. Copy analog. Put it here. Can I? No. Let's see. So if I push it hard, this is this is slow. Oh, fuck. So if I push it hard, harder than 80, the problem is, why are all these other effects dropping off? I just figured it out. Anything over 80 velocity, it plays this slow starting, but I don't get it. Oh shit, it's all gone. Analog. There we go. Now I can get rid of jack, I think. This is the shit I just love nerding out on. There's all sorts of stuff. There needs to be a point where I actually start doing something with all these. Because I think I have a lot of the components. And I'm breaking them down into different groups. Bass, lead, pads, accents, arps. Although arpeggiators, I started building them in, but I think I deleted them. So then I can just lock them. So, yeah. And I'm just learning on my MPK what I can really do with it. So, my octave down and up keys broke. And so it's only 25 keys, and that's usually the way you're going to get up and down. Unfortunately, down doesn't work, although up was the one that didn't work a couple days ago. But there's a different way of turning it via different dial, so basically there's an edit button, and you can edit the octave that your key is playing in. So what's nice is like I can just push 3 notes, and it's a feature called latch where it'll hold and arpeggiate the 3 notes that I pick. So if I just play a chord of 3, I don't have to do anything. And then I can modify what octave it's in. I can modify speed. I do wish there was a smooth way to go between different speeds, but not that I can tell. I can also just switch between different instruments as well. And also I can go in and modify the arpeggiator. So this is like random. I'm guessing include is like with the notes I've played. This is down. So it plays the sequence of 3 notes downwards, up. And there's a chord feature which is just obnoxious as fuck. That's so quiet now. Just happened. Oh, did I hit a knob? Oh, fuck. I did. There's a bank of knobs that are randomly mapped to different parameters, and if I touch them, it turns the volume down on God knows what. So I plugged in this MPK 25, and I think I grazed some of the knobs up top, and it turned down like the group volume for different instruments. And so I would see the value of each of them playing, but none of them were actually outputting to the master, which was super fucking confusing. But yeah. Let's see if this is. I still have this up. I think I do have. Hey, there's still 2 people here. Nothing better to do on a Sunday, huh? Appreciate anyone who's sticking around for all this shit. I don't know. I'll just sit here and keep working on this stuff. Unless any requests come in. I mean, now I'm casting my full desktop, so you can see what I'm seeing with the The old analytics. Actually, I'm gonna move this off. I have my iPad as a second display, which is kind of wild. So there are two people here. I'm ready to hit the big time with the streaming. I'm actually pretty excited that I figured this one out with the two different characteristics. So yeah, it's on the arpeggiators. Kind of nice. Well, yeah, there's the one lead guitar that I want to work on, but I don't know. This is so far off. Now, at my so these are not even modifying. So one thing I've found is like turning this up higher than you actually want it, so you get a sense of the characteristics. This get this. I think this is where you can get a lot of nice sort of variability. You can see how the attack starts affecting this. So it creates this progressive ramp, but it maps it against the attack time. So, and it also syncs it. So every second note, it'll play through this cycle. But it's actually not mapped to anything, so it doesn't mean fuck all right now. So if I modify so this is where like the rabbit hole just doesn't end, because I'm not even really utilizing envelope 2 or 3, which again could be applied to anything. Like I could have the pitch mapped to envelope 3, so it's gonna it should but you can see that it sounds really stupid. So yeah. So a lot of these instruments, like the bass is super, or like the fundamental waves are important, but almost just as important is the effects you apply to them. Drum bus is super, like if you're trying to get gritty, just bump this up. This might be loud. This, I really gotta fix this. And this filter needs to be left alone. See, this is not. So this started getting into. And one thing I did learn is that if you put the position too high, it looks like it stops animating on these like increases in position, but it's just reached 100% and there's nowhere else to go, so it just flatlines. So that's always something like looking at how much amount you want with the position. So I think if I go 50%, I'm pretty sure if I go 50%, it should hit little halfway. Let's get the tag. Yeah, we're about 100. So why it's not getting all the way to the bottom? Oh, what the fuck? What is going on? Oh. This is where I don't understand like the hierarchy of like if you map an LFO, like what this value, I get it's a relative scale, but like what does 50 mean? It's a 50%. Click on the parameter in the instrument to make it appear in the matrix. If you apply modulation, the parameter will remain in the matrix. No modulation is applied, the parameter will be removed from the matrix when you click into the parameter. Obviously. Oh. Well, this little guy is powerful too. You can add, like, so if you're doing a pad, like, in like multiply voices, and the way it combines them with this unison, which I don't see what it says. Use multiple oscillators of different phases, stereo locations, and wavetables. So basically it does a lot of shit that we should be doing, but it takes time, like kind of fucking around with like the stereo. And there's another synth I've been fucking around with called Operator. And this is where it's like, I have a hard time justifying ever needing anything else. Like this little guy is so fucking powerful. It's crazy. And it starts with this sound wave, or sine wave. So what did I make with Operator? So I did like this muffled sort of old distorted sounding bass, which apparently doesn't play well on a chord. And sorry if this arpeggiator just sounds repetitive, but this is like my way of gauging sound. What's interesting when it gets into these high notes is like you hear more of this, where it sounds like more percussive. I don't. But yeah, not this one. Where is it? Operator. So basically, you have 4 different oscillators, and I'm not playing it. But they all start out with sine waves. But one of the things that sort of Glimmer does is you can detune. So if I bring, let's say, saw wave. Just by like detuning it a little bit, you can create a little bit more depth to the sound. With this, you can also do like up an octave. So if you want to add some noise to it, which kind of just gives it that sort of distorted sound. And what's fucking crazy to me is like these different modes of how it blends them together, whether it blends them in like a parallel. And I saw a video on this that explained it. I believe this like stacks it, so it's dependent on what's underneath it. which doesn't make a ton of sense, to be entirely honest. But you can, I guess it's stacking them and then outputting them as one individual, or they play as individual on their sides. Because you can hear how like the noise layer is mixed in better here than it is. It just sounds like noise. But what I do want to get into, so if you connect velocity to, honestly, I haven't gotten into this stuff yet. This, some key, I would want filter frequency. Out. See, I wish it would show the oscillation that's happening. Like this filter frequency should be modifying based off the key I'm playing as I go up the scale a bit. In Wavetable, it does show you. Not here, which is weird. It took me a while to figure out, but there's, you can see like oscillations as they're applied, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to dive too deep onto this right now. I don't even know. I still want to build like that guitar, which I kind of have. But that's another dissonant. Yeah, I think I need more time with this before I really dedicate too much to a stream to it. I don't think people want to hear me learning this shit more, having a formed opinion on how this shit works and trying to do something meaningful. One thing I'm trying to do is I'm recording some random YouTube videos on different topics and just trying to like figure out how to do an intro. And it's like, what does that sound like? What does an outro sound like? What does background loop sound like? And I think that's like the first step of taking everything I'm doing here into something quasi-meaningful. I don't know. Because all this stuff, like in theory on its own, it sounds nice, but it doesn't mean anything unless you compose it. So that's where I have to see where that kind of goes. But how long have I been doing this? Fuck, I'm over 2 hours. I'm talking a lot. Considering it doesn't look like there's anyone in the comments, I might wrap it here. I don't know if this is just not a good time. I probably need to do like a poll or something on when a good time to stream is. Because I can't imagine there's a ton of other people besides me who wants to carve out a Sunday to sit at their computer after working all week. So I think so right now I have a contract that goes through the end of November. After that, I'll be able to do more like midday streams where I think it'll be more valuable people to kind of watch in the background when they're kind of already on the computer versus carving out additional time to listen to the idiot speak. Yeah. So hopefully I'm going to have something, I don't know. I want to do more live streams even though I don't have any functioning photo editing software. Maybe get into some more, like actually composing something for like the pipe video or the Iceland video or the desert video. I think that's where this sort of has meaning. A lot of this is just like learning just different characteristics of like building sounds with these synths and modifying them. I can't find the one that I did the video. Oh, this one, I think. love the sound of this. Like, I did my own piano from, which I think has its own sort of like vintage, but this is like actually someone recording. You can hear like the mallets. Oh, man. The problem is like I don't know. So the only problem with this is it has a very narrow range, so as I go 2 octaves up, it's already out of its, like the range it has recordings for. So that's the benefit of making my own sounds with something like, I think the reverb's a bit heavy-handed right now. It's not modifying it. There's like characteristics of this that like I just can't achieve. Like maybe on the like the general grand piano from the what's it called? From the instrument rack. Let's see, I'm not playing it. See, that's getting rid of. Yeah, I mean, I wish there were more things for me to play with this. I kind of take that initial bite off of it, which I would think would be with the attack, but it's just doing it in like a ham-fisted way of it almost doesn't even sound like a piano now. Yeah, I think I'll call it there. Yeah, there should be some other videos coming out soonish. As soon as I can figure out some of the collateral around it. But yeah, hopefully I'll do more streams coming up with something more tangible with music. And then probably going to send out some polls on topics and timing because I don't think Sunday afternoon is it. It works for me, but I don't think it works for anyone else because I probably spend more time indoors than most people. But yeah, hopefully it's been somewhat helpful, interesting. I don't know. It's kind of my world right now. So yeah. And this one should be available for replay because there's a couple songs that were played through the videos, but I don't think I'm going to get flagged for it. So we'll see how it goes. But feel free to tell a friend, give feedback, do whatever. And yeah, hopefully I'll be back soon.